Hello, today we're going to just go through an example of migrating a real-world SQL Server database up into SQL Azure. And I've got here a database on a server. This is a SQL Server 2008 machine, and this is a database that now serves as the back end for an application that's actually an Access data project application. This is a real-world application. I tried to choose something that was actually, somewhat complicated, but not really super complicated. We've got a number of tables related here to each other, and we've got some views, and we have some stored procedures, and we have some user-defined functions. And that's about it. So we're just going to go through a process now of creating the schema for this database on SQL Azure, and then separately we will migrate the data using SQL Server integration services. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go into tasks, and we're going to say generate scripts. And this will fire up a wizard for us that will allow us to script out the objects in this database. We are going to take the entire database, tables, views, stored procedures, and user-defined functions, and we're going to save this query to a new query window. We can do something here in these advanced settings that will save us a little bit of handwork later on, because we are going to have to edit this script, but we'll just change some of the settings that are not supported in SQL Azure. So for example, we want the user-defined data types to be converted to base types. We don't want to script out the extended properties. Since SQL Azure does not support use database statement, we won't script it. And I think that that's pretty much it. And we can go ahead and say next. Okay, I'll just do a quick review here to make sure everything looks good. Yep, my options seem to be set there in general, and okay, yeah. So let's go ahead and generate this script. Cool. Say finish. Okay, so this, it generates a lot of code here. There's about 4,000 or so lines of code, and yeah, it's a lot to go through. I explain in my blog what needs to be done in terms of editing this thing. But basically what I do is a bunch of global search and replaces, and go through and just make sure that all my things that are not compatible with SQL Azure are taken out, and it's basically a sort of a copy, cut and paste type of activity. I do find sometimes you need to move things around so that, for example, you can't create a view before the table that the view depends on exists, and it's a little bit tedious, but it's not too bad. It took me about 30 minutes in this case, and I'm just going to fast forward and show you what the finished script looks like. Okay, so yeah, it's some script here, and I've gone through a process of making sure that this all looks good and works, and it was not terrible, but we can go ahead and run this now. First of all, we have to make sure that we are connected to our SQL Azure database, and I want to make sure that I'm actually connected to that database. So we generated the script when we were connected to the on-premises SQL Server, and then we cleaned up the script, and now we're going to run the script connected to the SQL Azure server, and that should hopefully run for us. It'll take a little bit of time, so you might want to go get a coffee or something like that. Since we're doing a video, we can fast forward. Okay, great. So it looks like our script has run successfully, and we can go back up and look at our database. Um, I'm going to just refresh it, and here are all our tables. They're all empty, of course, but we've got our tables, we've got our views, we've got our stored procedures, and we have got our user-defined functions. So we're now in good shape to begin migrating the data using SQL Server integration services. Okay, now that I've got my database schema created, I can just go ahead and use SSIS to move data. And I've got Business Intelligence Development Studio, also known as Visual Studio, open. And I've started out a new integration services project. And I'm just going to go ahead and use the wizard to create a package for me. For my server name, for my source, I'm going to use my on-premises server. And I am going to connect to my source database. And for my destination database, I will specify this provider, the .network data provider for SQL Server. And I need to put in some parameters here. And put in my data source. And my initial catalog, which I should be able to populate from a lookup. Great. And we're going to copy data from one or more tables. And what I'm going to do is pretty much take everything except down at the bottom here. I'm not going to bother doing this for the views. And gives me a review of what it's going to create for me. Okay. And here is my package. And I'm just going to go ahead and run it. Cool. It looks like it's finished, and we will just verify. Let's take a look at colleges. Great. So you see we have migrated some data from an on-premises SQL Server to a SQL Azure server running in the cloud.